Africa has a very rich resource of minerals, and many countries are interested in that resource. And they will go to all ends. Actually, it's quite shocking. They will inculcate conflict. They support different groups.
But I'm going to ask about mere politics, and specifically the political pandemic that we have seen this year of coups d'etat. In fact, we narrowly averted a coup in the United States back at the start of the year. But you look at Mali, you look at Guinea, the classic military coup, Tunisia self-coup, and Ethiopia now breaking into civil war. How effective is either the African Union or sub-regional organizations at addressing these through simply talk shop? The phrase that you had used means what kinds of pressures is the African community able to bring to bear through those talk shop diplomatic endeavors? And when societies require some kind of external intervention to hold together, specifically the peacekeeping that Michelle had alluded to as her would have been additional question, how effectively can Africa provide those kinds of inputs given the resource limitations on so many of its countries? And when you have a hybrid operation with the United Nations, do those who think they're paying the bill in some way or other try to exert too much political control, or do they kind of lay off and say, no, let Africans figure this out, and we're happy to write the check for African peacekeeping?
I think one of the things we should not neglect to focus upon is the extensive continued interference in African affairs. Africa has a very rich resource of minerals, and many countries are interested in that resource. And they will go to all ends. Actually, it's quite shocking. They will inculcate conflict. They support different groups. This is well known, but not spoken of very much. And often you find that Africa becomes a theater of conflict between two powers that are not African at all and have really no development interest in Africa. So this is a complication that does need attention, because those powers are very wealthy and they use their money to arm different groups and to then cause this situation of never-ending conflict. And if you examine several countries where there is conflict, you'll find this feature, but we don't give it the studying that we should. Now, what is the standing of our institutions? Maybe I was a bit nasty to say they're all talk shops, because we do have committees and commissions whose focus is peace and security. We have been able, in the African Union, to create a peace and security fund through contributions from all member states, which are mandatory contributions. And should the need arise, we could deploy an African force. But we rely as well on the subsidiary notion of regional bodies having to respond. And you'd have seen ECOWAS has been very firm in its attitude. Immediate sanctioning, suspension of membership, and various sanctions in terms of movement and goods and so on. So I think the ECOWAS region is a very strong one and does respond. So we don't just sit there and say there's a coup, we leave it as it is. We do attempt to respond, but in the end, countries must stand up and do the right thing. And the populace must indicate its displeasure, with actions that have been undertaken. We shouldn't and won't recognize any government that comes about through a coup. We only recognize democratically elected governments. But should there be a need to intervene, utilizing the army or other forces, we can do so, as we've done in Mozambique. We've deployed our maritime, our Navy at maritime resource support for Mozambique. We have our army on the ground, some of our forces, special forces, as do 4 other countries from SADC. So those with the means can assist and do so. And it is disappointing that we've had 2 coups, that there's been an attempted coup. I heard this week while I was here in Sudan. Particularly disappointed because we're working with them to write a new constitution and to bring all the parties in the transitional council together. One of the things I've become aware of is those who lose power don't give up the attempt to get that power back. We're seeing it in our country. President Ramaphosa has, in a very determined fashion, decided he will fight corruption in the public sector. You're getting a very big negative response against that because the beneficiaries don't want to lose, those resources that they were stealing. So I think what is very important, where countries are doing the right thing, we should provide support to ensure that they're able to sustain their progress. When you're not doing the right thing, we should continue to encourage you to do so. And if force is necessary, it must be brought to bear. But it should be brought to bear by Africans themselves.
So there you have it, guys. Our African leaders are really trying their best to manage Africa's challenges as much as they are. And when we show these speeches here on this channel, we actually encourage to share our thoughts in the comments. Whatever it is you guys think about these speeches, please do share your thoughts in the comments.
Thank you for watching, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please share and like and subscribe because that's the way you support Kwazemi as a channel, an Afrocentric channel, where we try to understand deeper issues in African history and hopefully develop a collective intelligence on how we wish to build the Africa we want to see as people of Africa. See you in the next one.